Because nothing costs $1 anymore, so you 2 pennies each time you go up $1. Louise, okay, you do the fucking math in your head. Half a day, half a Thursday. Is that even a thing, half a Thursday? I didn't know what to say. Welcome to Late Night with us here at Candid News. Tonight, we are 43 days brining in the unethicalness of Rendrati Celis-Limsiaco, the publisher of the Pacific Daily News, who brines herself, as the fat turkey that she is, in conduct unbecoming a journalist. Because 43 nights ago, her friend, Jim Herbert, past chairman of the Guam Chamber of Commerce, he drove his car, drunk as no one's business, into the Akanta Mall following the Guam Hotel and Restaurant Association charity gala, or whatever it's called, 43 nights ago. Reversed from crashing his car into the Akanta Mall into a bus stop which had a person in it. That dude sustained injuries, and the PDN never covered it, just like the PDN never covered, and we're very excited about this tonight. We have new pictures of David Crisostomo for all of you. Just like the PDN never covered Rendrati's former editor, David Crisostomo, and how he was peddling drugs out of the PDN newsroom and out of the home of federal public defender John Gorman. All around, just fucked up, because the PDN likes to cover everything else about everybody else in this community except those who are within the favor of Rendrati Limsiaco and her band of merry establishment men. That would include her misfits from the Guam Chamber of Commerce, who really don't give a flying fuck about any of us and just care about the profits that they make and everybody who goes to their galas. So we're just going to keep calling them out because that's what we're about. We are about calling out the establishment and bringing down that establishment. Well, I know I said every night we're going to try, and on some nights we failed because there was just so much to cover, and I've been tired recently, but I think I'm getting over that tiredness, I hope. But Chelsea Aponic on Guam Lost and Found Pets was asking for our help on March 25. She lost, do we have the graphic up? She lost her dog, Paulo, who is a low rider. It's like sort of like a hot dog. He's short and he's long, with black and brown fur. Last seen on Maimai Street. If you've seen this dog, if you've seen Paulo, please call Chelsea Aponic at 488-4979. We'll just leave it up just for a few more seconds so people can see. If you've seen this dog, please. Last seen in Maimai Road doesn't mean that that's where the dog is. The dog could be anywhere on this island. So if you've seen this dog, please call Chelsea Aponic right away at 488-4979 or message her directly on Facebook. Now, off of Mariana's Dirty Laundry. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Mariana's Dirty Laundry. It's Georgine Titano's page. There was this funny-ass meme that I saw. My boyfriend and I were talking about Jollibee with our cello Eric Rosario here at the newsroom. And my boyfriend's Filipino, and he loves Jollibee. He used to work at Jollibee when he lived in the Philippines. And we were wondering, like, you know, why did Jollibee close down on Guam, right? If it's so popular now. And I was telling Eric, I was like, remember Chalu back in those days, that's when everybody was saying, oh, it's because the burgers are made of dog, right? Because we were stupid back then. And we said stupid things like that, right? And then we came across this meme by Didi Guerrero on Georgine Titano's page. This is, what does it say, Chalug? I can't see it on the screen right now. Locals love making jokes about Filipinos eating dogs' but Chamorros be eating their Mali Parian cousin. And then there's this from Mariana's Dirty Laundry. Let's go to my screen. Are you on the screen? From Alessia Kenyatta. She tagged Cedric Maravilla and me. She says, "This is so funny. Meet Heather the hippo. Can you guess?" And I'm just it's not too much of an inside joke. You might be able to get it. I'm sure hundreds, if not thousands, of people will be able to understand what this is about. This is a replica of the person who keeps sending Alessia Kenyatta to Facebook jail. And I would like for Heather the hippo to stop sending Alessia to Facebook jail because she's the funniest fucking person on Facebook. So Cedric says, "Who the hell is Heather?" Rose PT says, I know. Alessia, can you imagine her eyes open?" And Benedict Alonso Valoria says, "Can you imagine her with no nail polish?" Angela Marie Pershowitz, holy shit, that's hilarious. I asked Alessia, why the hell does her handle say you're a new member? It's because it's a new profile. She's in Facebook jail again. The old profile is for 30 days. James Davis, you mean meet Alessia Kenyatta? Angela Castro, wait, who's Heather the hippo? Alessia Kenyatta, according to James Davis, it's me. Angela Castro says, girl, you're nowhere even close to that. That's okay. Heather looks to be a badunkadunk. It means a thick, sexy chick. Cursing Nashio, who obviously gets who this is, says, is this supposed to be best evening wear? Work that pole, girl. Cha-ching. Alessia Kenyatta says, gotta pay for lawyer fees. Can you imagine my fat ass on a pole? Wait, I'll go to a class and practice. Oh, wow. Thanks, everyone, for liking and sharing our show tonight. I see all those, what do you call those? Notifications go up. Okay, let's get back to it. So, I'm sorry. Let's go back to my screen because I want to show everybody this promo from Choke Supply. If you saw our show yesterday, I was wearing the Enough shirt that many people were wearing yesterday at the 5:05 p.m. event, the Enough event. It was done by Choke Supply. And Choke Supply was able to get those shirts printed and out in no time. They have a promo going on right now. It's on Michael Carlo Netted Dog's page. You can see this this little promo that they have. It says 20 custom t-shirts for $200. That's a pretty damn good price. And you see all the shirt colors and the ink colors that you can use. So if you need a shirt done, and I've seen this a lot, like at funerals, like especially if you need it done right away, Choke Supply, they'll get it. Their turnaround time is like a day, I think. So if you have like a funeral or a birthday party or like, one of those things where you want to make shirts with people's faces or like a saying or something, like if you want it, Candace gonna do a shirt that says Tidinko, hashtag Tidinko. I'm ready to do some other shirts too with Choke Supply. But for 20 shirts, get it done for $200. If you're in the business of selling shirts or you want to make some money or whatever, that's a pretty good deal. If you sell the shirts for $25, that's a $15 profit. What is that? Like, let's do the math there. And I can't do the math. So I think that's 150% profit that you make, if I'm not mistaken. If you buy the shirt for $10 and you sell the shirt for $25, you make 150% profit. Yes, I'm right. So they should hire me at the budget office of the legislature. No, they shouldn't, because I wouldn't take that job. So then getting into more serious business, we can get off of my screen now. Uh, Today we got news, or tonight we got news, breaking news, that the legislature has confirmed Captain Steve Ignacio as the police chief. And this is despite days of controversy regarding his fitness for the job, meaning his mental fitness for the job, following a review by Dr. Andrea Lighthizer, who is a clinical psychologist. And, you know, I want to say something about the stupid ass fucking media. Because there are some stupid reporters. Let me just tell you, there are just some dumb fuck reporters on this island. And when I saw the story by Dr. Lighthizer, there was, I think it was the Post. If I'm not mistaken, it was the Post that got it right. I'm not entirely sure. But there was one story where the reporter got it right, and it was a more in-depth interview that they were able to get with Dr. Andrea Lighthizer, who says, you know, these assessments are done at a point in time, and I wish that people would be able to see the full report. Of course, it can't be released because of HIPAA violations. I'm paraphrasing here. Because of HIPAA violations, and if you were able to see the full report, you will understand why I came to the conclusion that I made. But it's a point-in-time assessment. It's not like the person couldn't change whatever it was that needed to be changed in order to have a different outcome of the report. So what it all comes down to is that at the time the report was taken, Captain Steve Ignacio, who has weight issues, and let me just tell you that as a fat boy myself, I can fully comprehend the struggle, okay? The struggle is fucking real when it comes to weight issues, and how his weight issues, Dr. Lighthizer found, could affect his ability to perform as the chief of police, which is a very demanding and stressful job. But we here at Candid, we were like, all right, let's just look at the practicality of all of this, all right? You had an idiot like J.I. Cruz, you know, shit for brains, physically fit and whatever, just didn't have too much stress on his mind because there wasn't much of a mind to stress from. And then you had someone like Captain Steve Ignacio, who's actually a thinker and has been doing things that have been good for the Guam Police Department, who is a little overweight, has had some health issues. I would choose Captain Steve Ignacio any day of the fucking week, and I'm so glad that the legislature confirmed his nomination, and now he is the chief of police. And I would beware corrupt police officers, and you know who you are. I would beware that now that that guy is the confirmed chief of police, you need to watch your fucking back, because he is gonna. I think there are some reforms coming in the Guam Police Department that corrupt police officers are not gonna like whatsoever, and I'm so happy that guy is the chief of police. So, great job to the Leon Guerrero administration, to Governor Leon Guerrero for appointing him, and to Captain Steve Ignacio and his wife, who has been by his side the entire time, Betty Jean. And for those of you in the police department who have pretended to be his friend just so you can be on his good side, like Major Fred Chargaloff, I think you're in for something. Your day of reckoning has come. And good luck to you, motherfuckers. So, moving on from that discussion, congratulations all around, by the way, Captain Steve Ignacio. Congratulations to the senators. He received unanimous approval, or unanimous confirmation by the 35th Guam legislature. To Senator Pito Terlahi and his committee for putting everything together, congratulations. So, we were able to speak with Senator Clint Rogel today. And the reason we wanted to speak with him was because he's the chairman of the Committee on Economic Development. This issue regarding Matson navigation that Candid has been discussing for the past couple of weeks now, where Matson in November, I believe it was November 27 of 2018, filed in the District Court of Washington, D.C., a civil lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Transportation. What Matson is trying to do is get U.S. Department of Transportation to revoke its maritime security program privileges to American President Lines, or APL. APL is Matson's only competition here in the Marianas and in Micronesia. So this is not just about Guam, this is about this entire region. It even affects as far up as Hawaii, but of course in Hawaii they have other shippers. And so they're able to withstand big economic blows like the removal of a shipping line more so than we are. But here on Guam, we only have Matson and APL. And in its filings in federal court, Matson freely admits on page 21 of the civil suit that since APL has come into the market, APL has been able to offer the people of Guam significantly, this is in quotes, significantly lower prices. And so it has forced Matson to compete. And Matson calls this unfair. They say this is an unfair market advantage. No, motherfuckers, it's competition. You can't just have your way, you know? It ain't fucking Burger King. Like, even though they ship in everything that Burger King, they ship in everything, okay? Almost everything that we consume on this island is shipped aboard ships from either Matson or from APL. Can you imagine if APL was actually muscled out in this civil lawsuit that Matson has against U.S. Department of Transportation to get rid of APL? That's all it is. It's just to get rid of APL. Can you imagine if Matson succeeds in getting rid of APL? They regain their monopoly on this island. Our rates will increase substantially. And you think that they wouldn't? You think that they would care about market forces? Well, let me tell you, market forces don't apply here. When we consider that the only way things can get onto this island, besides for airplanes, which would be markedly more expensive, is through ships. And if there's only one shipping company that's able to do that, that shipping company owns us. They own us. They will be able to charge anything that they want in order to produce profits that their corporate bosses can just drool over. And that's all they do. They posted, in 2017, they posted profits, just staggering profits. Their CEO got a $4 million bonus in 2017. And that was with competition, with APL having 30% of this market and Matson owning 70% of this market. Matson is not satisfied with that. They hate that APL has taken 30% of the market and that its market share is growing. So we asked Senator Clint Rigel today what he thinks about this, and here's what he had to say. Senator, as the chairman on economic development, can I have your general thoughts on Matson Navigation's efforts to push out APL through the district court in Washington, D.C.?
Sure. You know, I'm not too familiar with the actual lawsuit, I guess, that they're doing, but I did read it. But you know, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know if they have any legal standing. Maybe they do. But I think in general, we always want to see competition. So I hope that there's a way that APL can stay, and I hope Matson's not trying to do something to push APL out of the market. We absolutely need to have more competition. That's what free market is based off of. The entire free market premise of capitalism is based around this idea, this concept of competition.
Do you believe that it's not going to be a good deal for the people of Guam, as in they will have to suffer through higher prices if Matson regains its monopoly on this island? And your general thoughts on that?
Oh, sure. You know, it's funny they bring up. In the suit, when I read part of the harms that Matson was listing as harm that was caused to it in the suit, one of the things they list is the fact that because APL is here, they have to compete and lower prices. So, yeah, absolutely. It would hurt the island because if we lost APL, Matson, and admittedly in their lawsuit, they say that they've been forced to lower prices because of APL's presence out here. So if they take APL away, then that means prices would likely go back up because of a lack of competition.
Will you consider either supporting or leading an effort for the legislature to file an amicus brief in support of the U.S. Department of Transportation, basically in support of keeping APL as a competitor here?
Well, I would definitely consider it. I'm not sure if that's exactly what we would want to do. I mean, I have to look at it and see. I'm not an attorney. We'd need attorneys to look at it and see, is this something that the legislature should step in on or not? So, yeah.
Are you aware that the Chamber of Commerce has refused to get involved in this effort, and what are your thoughts on that?
I haven't heard that, and I'm surprised that they wouldn't want to get involved in this effort.
So we're going to follow this story much more, and we're going to ask more of our senators what they think, because it is an issue that will have detrimental impact on us if Matson succeeds in gaining or in regaining the monopoly that it lost a few years ago when APL was allowed to come into the market, and especially at a time when we have a military buildup coming. They just want to reap all of these profits. And the sad thing is that then, and Johnny Rosario covered this in a story that we brought you a few nights ago, where she interviewed the president of the Guam Chamber of Commerce, and Kathy Castro, who's the president, said that that the Chamber of Commerce is not going to file an amicus brief. Just straight up, they're not going to file an amicus brief. They are not going to help the people of Guam in this lawsuit, is basically what Kathy Castro has said. Why? Why wouldn't the Chamber of Commerce want to keep shipping rates low? We can only imagine why, and we can only imagine that profits among its chamber members have something to do with it. Now, Senator Ragel also commented to us today in a growing number of senators who are coming forward to support Senator Joe San Augustine's idea to increase the minimum wage to $9.25 an hour. So let's go ahead and play what he had to say about that. What are your thoughts on Senator Joe San Augustine's idea so far to raise the minimum wage to $9.25 an hour?
Right now, I like it. I think, first of all, I remember former Speaker B.J. Cruz actually had introduced a bill that was supposed to do incremental increases already, and I believe by this time we were supposed to be at $10.10 an hour, whereas I believe Senator San Augustine's proposal would be $9.10 or whatever cents it is an hour, as opposed to $10.10, where it should be now had Speaker Cruz's bill went all the way through.
Do you want to give us some sort of general message to low-wage earners on this island, just based on this subject?
Yeah, for those of you who are making minimum wage, if you would like to see the minimum wage be increased, come out and testify. Talk to your leaders, give your leaders a call them, come out and let your voices be heard, and so people can see how many people really want this to happen.
So that was Senator Clint Ragel, the chairman of the Committee on Economic Development, with his thoughts on the minimum wage, and it seems like it's something that he wants to support, and everyone's now just waiting for the bill from Senator Joe San Augustine. We want to be, here at Canada News, we want to be able to count those votes and see if there are 8 votes. So over the next few days, we'll be polling more senators to see about their support for the minimum wage bill. And we'll be doing the same thing regarding Matson and whether there are enough votes or there's enough support in the legislature to get a resolution passed to file an amicus brief on behalf of the people of Guam in that civil suit that Matson's brought against the U.S. Department of Transportation. An amicus brief, or a friend of the court brief, on the side of the U.S. Department of Transportation. Shifting gears now to the main segment of our thing tonight about child sex abuse. Before getting into the Paul Moffness issue, I do want to read to you parts of another lawsuit. These are lawsuits that have been brought since 2017 against the Catholic Church, but since the other media outlets didn't give these people much of the coverage that they should have received, here at Canada, we want to bring you more of what they said in their filings against the Catholic Church for sex abuse that happened against these boys and girls at the time. And so here's the first one, or here's the one that we're going to review tonight. Why don't we go ahead and go to my screen? This is Bruce Diaz versus Roman Catholic Archbishop of Agana, Louis Briard, and some unnamed entities. Beginning on page 3 of this filing. Oh, shit. Sorry. In or about 1976, when Bruce was around the age of 8, he met Briard during Boy Scout activities. Briard served as a scoutmaster in the local chapter of the Boy Scouts. Among Briard's sexually abusive practices while serving as scoutmaster were weekly outings that he conducted in which he would take 5 to 6 boys, including Bruce, swimming. Briard would instruct Bruce and the other boys to swim naked and entice them with cheeseburgers, milkshakes, and fries as a reward. What a novel! What a stellar and wonderful member of our community. Later during that same year, Bruce became an altar boy at San Vicente Ferrer San Roque Church, or the Barragata Parish. At that time, Briard was a priest at the Barragata Parish. Bruce lived about 2 blocks away from the Barragata Parish and would serve as an altar boy at Mass approximately 3 times a day. Bruce would also serve as an altar boy during midnight masses and funerals. From approximately 1976 to 1980, while he served as an altar boy, Bruce was sexually molested and abused by Briard. The sexual abuse included oral copulation. This happened about 4 times a week on parish grounds. Oral copulation is just a fancy way of saying getting or giving head. On information and belief, Bruce alleges that other priests and representatives of the Agana Archdiocese, including Bishop Apollinaris Baumgartner, who that school in San Eugenio is named after, and individuals named herein as DOE defendants, were aware of the sexual abuse committed by Briard and deliberately remained quiet and withheld such information from third parties, including victims' parents and law enforcement authorities, in order to protect Briard and the Agana Archdiocese, thereby placing their loyalty above their duty to protect the minor children and their legal responsibilities. So full of shit. Anyway. That brings us to the discussion about Paul Moffness. Let me just go back to my shit here. Now, for the past few days, we've been breaking several parts of the story of Paul Moffness to you, and many things that we've been finding out about this monster who on April 11, 2019, abducted a 10-year-old girl, used a gun or by gunpoint, forced her to have sex with him. He raped her. And it fit the MO that he had back in the day before he was arrested and eventually convicted. There were 4 victims in that case, 4 known victims in that case. There were other known victims, there were other victims or survivors whom the record shows he was willing to confess to, but because for whatever reason the justice system hadn't entered all that in. He ended up getting 27 years in prison with time served. He, after 15 years, was able to apply for parole. He did apply for parole, and on February 27, 2014, Michelle Titano and her band of Merry Christmas carolers on the parole board decided that Paul Moffness was fit to be paroled, and according to news reports, she told him that whenever he feels those urges to harm children, he should breathe in and out like a fucking yoga instructor. Now, we'll bring you some coverage from the parole board in just a bit, but as we've been uncovering these things, one of the things that we found yesterday, after watching a video that shows Paul Moffness singing Christmas carols with Michelle Titano, with her Guahan Aftercare church group, where she has all these parolees with her, which is in itself a conflict. In itself, it's another story. It involves a conflict of interest, and we're chasing down some information, and we'll bring that to you tomorrow. But just on this episode alone, this Christmas caroling that was happening, it was to the Angel Tree Program kids. these aren't just any kids, these are particularly at risk youth whose parents are inmates or detainees of the Department of Corrections. They don't. So the point was, bring some Merry Christmas to these kids who aren't able to celebrate Christmas with their parents because their parents are in jail, unable to protect them from people like Paul Moffness. And Michelle Tysono thought it was just such a grand fucking idea to bring a sex offender, a pedophile like Paul Moffness, to these kids' doorsteps, so that he can see these kids and these kids can see him. And I don't know if they sat on Santa's lap, but when we were looking at the video, one of us, Johnny, noticed that, hey, that guy on the right side of the screen, the second to the right, the tall guy in the maroon shirt, is Chris Leon Guerrero, another sex offender who was convicted in 2012, went to jail for only 6 years. Actually, we're not even sure how long he went to jail, because by the 6th year, we're seeing him in this video in December of last year, singing in that same choir of Michelle Tysono's Misfit band to kids. So there were at least 2 sex predators at that same event. Let's go ahead and play that, play what we put together on Chris Leon Guerrero, and let's also play that video that one of our investigators put together. So I can imagine the outrage that you're feeling right now. It is, since we've been following this story, all we've been is outraged. All we've been, we've just been struck with such disbelief at how stupid our parole board can be. We did send questions to all of our senators after Ariane Nepomuceno, who was Paul Moffness's last known victim, back in 1995, and the person who picked him from a lineup at the tender age of 13, despite what she had gone through, she was brave enough. She displayed such courage in the face of danger to her own life and the lives of her family members and her friends. She decided to step forward to break her silence within minutes of her rape, and just get this guy. And it was because of her that he went to jail. So Ariane, when we spoke with her, she was outraged that the parole board let this guy out, and she was demanding massive reform in the government of Guam, and some critical reform of the criminal justice system. And as we've been polling senators, we've been getting some strong responses from them. So here's responses from Senator Kelly Marsh Taitano. Why don't we go ahead to my screen? The first question we asked her was regarding whether she would support Senator Therese Terlahi's inquiry into the parole board. Senator Terlahi was the first senator, even before this Paul Moffness thing became a public thing. She had her eye on this parole board and what it had been doing. So Senator Taitano says, Senator Therese Terlahi's committee, which has oversight of justice, certainly has the authority to conduct such an inquiry. I fully support these inquiries. The community has the right to full transparency and to the maximum extent that is publicly disclosable. On the second question, was about whether parole board members should be removed if it's found that they acted capriciously and arbitrarily. Senator Taitano says, board members should establish and follow standard operating procedures, rules, and guidelines and be held accountable to violations of these. If there are gaps in such procedures, rules, or guidelines, we need to revisit them and make necessary improvements. I support appropriate discipline for board members found to have made violations, which may include removal. Probably of all the responses we've gotten, Senator Kelly Marsh Taitano has been the most evasive in answering the questions, but I promised all senators that we would report their answers in their entirety, no matter how long-winded and not answering the questions they are. The third question was on whether she supports life sentences for serial rapists. She says, I would like to review the research on this option. I support protecting our children. Not sure what that means. They are vulnerable, and too many have across the nation and in the world are suffering horrific forms of abuse. If research supports that life sentences are the best course of action, I would support it. I would also support programs to reform abusive behavior. Society is also protected if and when we can change the behavior. There's no changing that behavior, Senator. You need to do the research. To be clear, I do not mean for programs for reform to replace the appropriate amount of time served. I'm glad she was clear about that. The fourth question was on prohibiting prosecutors from giving plea agreements that exchange guilty pleas of lesser charges for lighter sentences. She says, I think this is an important issue that certainly deserves due consideration and serious research. Our children absolutely need and deserve our protection. It's all political answers. The fifth question was regarding whether she supports Chief of Police Steve Ignacio's criminal justice reforms. Well, the reform of his police department, which is moving resources away from a strict focus on the Mandania Drug Task Force and into more violent crimes. She says, we need a strong enforcement approach. Our community is extremely worried about violent crimes being committed on island. We need to address this serious issue in a multitude of ways. We need to understand why this is occurring and look at all the ways our government entities and NGOs can address the issue. So she didn't answer the question. And then I asked her to give a message to Ariane Nepomuceno. We just talked about her. She says, first, I want to thank Ms. Nepomuceno for standing up for the community and commend her bravery. I believe that every violent attack should be causing all of us to work harder at better addressing and preventing violent and other crimes. And then finally, we asked her to send a message to the 10-year-old girl who was raped on April 11. She says, "Too many in our community have been victims of such crimes, such as myself. I would tell my fellow survivor that she is important, she is worthy, she is valued, and that it may be hard, but she can overcome this and do great things with her life." Something I did not know before was Senator Kelly Marsh Taitano is herself a survivor, and we commend her for having the bravery to say so, to come forward and say so. So good on her. I'm most stunned. I think stunned is the only way I can describe it, by the responses from Senator Regine Bisco-Lee. Not to say that she's not one to provide good responses. It's just I've never really seen a politician provide such straightforward responses to such a controversial topic. So, one, on whether she supports Senator Sirlahi's inquiry into the parole board, she simply says yes. Yes. If it is found that parole board members acted arbitrarily and capriciously on official actions, will you support their removal from office? She says yes. And here's the one that, my God, and we just love this so much that we made a meme out of it all on its own. Do you support mandatory life sentences without the possibility of parole for adults convicted of raping children? She says, this is Senator Regine Bisco-Lee. As a mother of 2 little girls, I think these kinds of criminals deserve death sentences, not life sentences. Unfortunately, the Eighth Amendment requires that very distinct circumstances must be met for this type of punishment. That means life sentences are the best we can do. That was such a non-political answer. Like, it was just such a straightforward, from the heart of a mother, from a parent kind of answer that we just have nothing but respect for it. What are your thoughts on legislative solutions barring prosecutors from offering plea deals to those charged with raping children that effectively exchanges a plea to a lesser charge for a reduced sentence? She says, I would support this policy, but know that it has been opposed in the past by veteran prosecutors and respected judges. Oftentimes, the young age of witnesses, the trauma they've suffered at the hands of the accused, or their personal connection to the assailant makes them less likely to testify before a jury. When a witness does testify, the trauma of reliving those horrible events can cause irreparable harm. For these reasons, some prosecutors believe that a plea deal in which prison time is required and the criminal is forced to register as a sex offender is better than a not guilty verdict and no time at all. That was a thoughtful response. This is the question regarding support for the police chief's efforts to move resources into investigating and fighting violent crimes. She says, yes, I support the police chief in his efforts, and I commit to fighting for the resources GPD needs as outlined by the governor in her fiscal year 20 budget request. I'll do the same for the attorney general. These are some of the toughest cases to bring to trial and win. We need the most experienced and aggressive prosecutors we can find. They need expert investigators, forensic scientists, and social workers at their disposal. Whatever the cost is, allowing criminals to beat the system because we are outgunned is far more expensive. Right on, Senator Regine Lee. The sixth, this is her message to Ariane Nepomuceno. She says, we have to admit that our system failed you, that it wasted your bravery and pain by allowing this to happen again. Now we have to do better, whatever it takes. We need comprehensive psychiatric treatment for sexual predators. We need the best prosecutors we can find. We need social workers with hearts as big as houses, and parole board members willing to step up and make the toughest decisions on our island. We also need to acknowledge that every kid in danger is also our child, and then we need to act that way. And finally, her message to the 10-year-old girl who was raped on April 11. We were supposed to protect you from the monsters, and we didn't. No kind words can change that, but you are loved by people who have never met you, and we will work every day until this evil stops. That's Senator Regine Bisco-Lee, and the very heartfelt response from her. A very heartfelt response from her regarding this horrendous issue dealing with this monster, and how she feels that the government of Guam can change and truly reform so that it addresses these issues before it happens to any one of your children. and I have nothing but respect for what she wrote. And for a very long time, I will remember these words from Senator Regine Biscoli, and we all should. Um, Finally, Johnny and I went to the parole board meeting earlier today. We didn't even know it was happening until someone messaged us and said, "Hey, the parole board is meeting, and Michelle Titano is chairing the parole board meeting." And people were like, "What?" I thought the governor got rid of her. And then we looked at the law, and the governor apparently can't fire parole board members. She has to wait until their terms end. Interestingly, Michelle Titano's term ended in December. Now, I'm not sure if after someone's term expires, but they still remain on until the replacement is given, and we don't know why it took the governor this long to name her replacement. But we just understand that it's the beginning of the term, and there are a lot of board member positions to fill, so that really could just be what the issue is. But the governor finally named a replacement, but until that replacement, Franklin Leon Guerrero, is confirmed by the legislature, Michelle Titano is still going to be the parole board chairwoman. Now, she was on her best behavior today, of course, giving her God bless yous and her fakeness throughout that parole board meeting. But it was at the end of the meeting, and it wasn't even Michelle Titano, though you can hear her in the background telling Tom Van Ingen to be quiet and see, I told you not to say anything. Like basically telling him, stop talking to Camden News because we're going to whoop their asses. Tom Van Ingen, who is a member of the parole board, he's the guy who said that Paul Moffness never mentioned that he is addicted to sexually assaulting little girls when he was before the parole board. Like, hey, hey guys, just in case you didn't know, even though you're going to consider my parole, I like to hurt little children, and I can't stop. But can you give me parole anyway? What kind of fucking idiot are you, Tom Van Ingen? Anyway, Tom Van Ingen is the Reverend Tom Van Ingen, and I don't know what he's thinking, but we asked him some questions. Well, he wanted to ask us questions, and then we took an opportunity to ask him questions, and here it is.
Can I ask Mr. Torres a question?
Sure, if you'd like.
Sir, what's the purpose of your filming the hearings for the Guam Parole Board?
To show the public what you guys are doing.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We can use some publicity.
It's
Easy job what we have here. You're streaming live again?
Yes, we're streaming live
Okay,
so the public can see you guys and what you're doing
good.
as a public board.
We're proud of our work.
You're proud of releasing Paul Moffness Jr.?
Let me just say, we're proud of most of our work.
Well, I'm asking you directly, are you proud of releasing Paul Moffness Jr.? Since you said you're proud of your work.
Yeah, we're proud of the work we do.
So you're proud of releasing Paul Moffness Jr.?
He was paroled before I was on this board.
Wasn't he released early from his parole last year?
Yeah.
Were you on the board when that happened?
Yeah.
Were you a part of that decision then?
We made the best decision we could with the information we had. He was doing very well.
The information that you had showed in the parole packet that he was a serial rapist against children. Is the parole board aware that a sociopath like that cannot be rehabilitated?
I don't believe that was in the information we had available then.
No, it was. It was available in 2014 and again in 2018, and in information provided by Ariane Nepomuceno, his last victim before his arrest in 1995.
I had never even heard of her until I saw the story about her in the paper.
She presented testimony to the parole board in both 2014 and 2018. She lives off island. You may have recognized her aunt and her cousin who came before the parole board to ask the parole board not to release him and then not to dismiss him early from his parole.
So if it wasn't in the packet, who hid it?
If it wasn't in your packet, that's a good question. Who hid it from the parole board? Because it was in the packet from the parole officer.
Well, this is the smallest caseload we've had in the 4.5 years that I've been on the board. So I'm going to admit to you freely, I do not remember every detail of every case.
It would be a big case for a serial rapist, don't you think? Something that requires the due diligence of the parole board?
I assure you, we pay full attention to all the cases that come before us.
So is it that you cannot pay attention to detail, or is it that you pay full attention to all the
I didn't say
cases?
I
Which
can't
one
pay
is it?
attention. Don't twist my words, please, sir. I said I cannot remember every detail of every case.
Does the parole board have an ethics procedure or an ethics manual that it follows,
Yeah, similar to all the boards.
similar to all the boards? May we have a copy of that ethics manual? Should be a public document if one exists.
I don't.
You can request a FOIA, Troy. You can ask one of the parole officers. Thank you very much. We're about to take a break, and
Is-
we're gonna go into deliberation.
Is Guahan Aftercare,
Thank you, Troy.
is Guahan
Thank
Aftercare?
you, Troy.
Well, with geniuses like him running our government, who needs crackheads in the news, huh? That's all.
That's all.
Union, which exposed the
That's all.
exploitation.
That's all. That's all. That's all. That's all. That's all.